What's happening, MJ traders and investors? It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Today's Tuesday, May 2nd. Hope you're well. And in this video, we're going to be discussing the next state set to potentially legalize MJ at the adult use level. Before we get to it though, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe. Tick the bell to be notified on any future videos or when I go live. You may have already guessed the next state set to potentially legalize is Minnesota. There were some bills that passed the Senate and the House. There's still some work to be done though on that front. But before I give you the details on that, I did want to bring up a video that I posted a couple of days ago. If you haven't seen this, go check it out. But essentially, the Safe Banking Act has been reintroduced into the House and the Senate. So we're not just seeing progress from the state level, we're seeing it from a federal level as well. And I know what you're thinking, oh my God, we've seen this movie before. It's, 10 times now, and it usually just passes the House and stalls in the Senate. But one thing I just want to make everybody aware of is that it's a good thing that this continues to be talked about and a focus in Congress, right? And in the US, right? Not just at the state level, but at the federal level. More and more states starting to legalize, right? And then more and more chatter going on at the federal level is a good thing. And as we know, the United States are never first or never last, but once they get started, once they, embrace something, they'll leapfrog everybody because they're the biggest economy in the world. And this is only ever going to happen once, right? So we need to be cautiously optimistic, but we need to have a plan for all scenarios, a plan for this, passing and not being, no one expecting it, but also a plan for it not passing, right? So there's things that we need to prepare for, and markets can go up, down, or sideways, and we just need to prepare for all scenarios, right? But again, more and more countries, more and more states. We know that Germany, Mexico set to potentially legalize, and those are going to be huge markets. And then the US, right? This is medicine of the future, and more companies starting to embrace it as well. You got Apple, Amazon, Uber, you got Twitter as well, easing its restrictions with regards to advertising and things like that. So the writing is on the wall. And like I said, I think MJ is going to be a big focus in Congress and over the next, globally, realistically, over the next few years, because of the fact that C-19 is sort of, a thing of the past. And we know that that was a big priority. And we're starting to see a lot more chatter, again, not at the and progress, not at the state level, but at the federal level as well. So this article here comes from MJ Biz Daily. Minnesota Senate passes adult use MJ legalization bill, but just barely. You can see here that it was decided by a single vote to advance adult use MJ legalization. But more work is required before the legalization can head to the governor, Tim Walz, to become law. So 3 days after the state House of Representatives voted to pass the adult use legalization bill following months of committee hearings, the Senate voted late Friday to approve a companion bill on a party line vote 34-33. So a nail biter to say the least. Since the Senate and House bills differ on key points, including taxation, both will head this week to a conference committee where a final compromise bill will be negotiated. A negotiated bill will then have to be returned to both chambers for final approval before going to Walz for a signature. Key points of the two bills include the Senate measures tax rate at 10% and the House imposes 8% gross receipts tax on MJ sales. Licensing details, including permits caps, would be left to the state regulatory agency when the bills would create. Both measures would provide relatively generous home cultivation allowances, with adults 21 and older permitted to grow up to 4 mature plants and possess anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 5 pounds. Also, an article here from High Times. I just want to go, there was a couple of pieces I wanted to highlight. The bill would legalize the possession of use of MJ by adults age 21 and older and establish a regulatory framework for the production and sale of recreational MJ. Adults would be permitted to purchase up to 2 ounces of MJ, 8 grams of MJ concentrates or edibles with up to 800 milligrams of THC. Home cultivation of MJ would also be allowed, with adults permitted to grow up to 8 MJ plants at home. So again, we haven't seen the final bill yet. Still needs to go back to both chambers. But we should see some progress on this over the next several weeks and few months. After the bill was passed by the Senate, Democratic Governor Tim Walz said that he would approve the legislation, which would make Minnesota the 23rd state in the nation to end prohibition of MJ. So congratulations on that progress, and set to potentially become the 23rd state. Legalization of adult use MJ and expunging MJ convictions is good for our economy and the right move for Minnesota, Walz wrote on Twitter on Friday. When the bill reaches my desk, I'll be proud to sign it into law. And kudos to you, Minnesota and Walz, for making this happen, and Minnesotans. This is definitely medicine in the future, and it's time that we change it, right? Things need to change, and we need to make our voices heard. And just very, very proud as well as a MJ advocate to see another state legalize. The bill also includes measures to address the harms caused by decades of MJ prohibition, including a provision to expunge convictions for many MJ-related offenses. And we know that, again, Biden has been signing the research bill into law. He has called on HHS and potentially DOJ to reschedule or even deschedule MJ, right? So again, all these things are starting to point to the inevitability of MJ legalization and reform, especially in the US. But all 33 Senate Republicans voted against the bill, with senators citing concerns over public safety, substance abuse, and controlling the illicit MJ market. What we've come down to after our analysis is this bill simply isn't enough. Not enough public safety, not enough for public health, said Senate Minority Leader Mark Johnson. And our local governments are really at the bottom of the stick of this. So again, there's still some work that needs to be done. But it does look like Minnesota is going to become the 23rd state to potentially legalize. I'm going to do a video dedicated specifically to the ETF MSOS because I'm getting a lot of questions about this. Getting a lot of questions, whether or not this is a good buy, whether or not this is the right approach, to buy an ETF versus individual names. One thing I'll say is that if you're in the US, you might not have access to OTC, so over-the-counter tickers. So MSOS is a good way to have access to that, right? And a lot of names that are on the NASDAQ and the NYSE are, Canadian names, right? But I did want to highlight that MSOS could be finding a bottom here. Again, not financial advice. Do your own research. This is for entertainment purposes only. But we did have a daily bear flag that was confirmed, and it had a measured move of about $5.03. And we hit a low of, if we just take a look, we had a 20% bounce, though, over the last few days after this news here about the Safe Banking Act being reintroduced into the House and the Senate. But nice 20% move there off the bottom. I also called this out in our POW Group bi-weekly newsletter. I said that this could be a nice entry playing off $5 psychological with a stop loss just below $5. And sure enough, we hit $5, major support level, and we bounced 20% off of that level. But like I said, this daily bear flag was targeting the low here of about 503, and we hit a low of 510. And then a few days later, trading about a week later, we hit 505. So again, if you're starting to play off $5 psychological, you could start to enter with a stop, say 474, 449, however much risk you're willing to accept. It is looking like we could see a lot more upside from here, and that a bottom could potentially be formed here on MSOS. We could see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross as well on the daily EMAs, which would be adding to the bull case. And if we take a look at the weekly RSI, we do have some hidden bullish RSI divergence where we have higher lows and higher highs trending higher here on the RSI and lower highs and lower lows on the price action. So again, things are starting to look the other way. We would anticipate a bottom being formed, in my opinion, after such a massive pullback right from the all-time high. We're now down at the low there. We're now down over 90%. So not a bad idea to start scaling in my opinion, for the long term. But again, not financial advice. But as we can tell, there's starting to be more and more progress, like I said, not just at the state level, but now at the federal level. We're starting to see other countries follow suit, Germany, Mexico, and then who knows who else is going to be next in line, right? And eventually it's just going to be a domino effect. Each day you'll wake up and it'll be another company, another country adopting it and embracing this for what it is. And what it is it's medicine of the future, right? So again, this is only going to ever happen once. Prepare for all scenarios going in it there, though. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this with this news. Who do you think is going to be the next state to legalize? Thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rob with POW Group. We'll see you in the next video. Have a great night.